So today we wanted to kind of prepare ourselves for the third chapter of Rabbi Hillel. And in order to do that, we wanted to go over the second chapter. Bezrat Hashem, second chapter from the Mitteler Rebbe. And before we do that, is there anybody who wants to volunteer just to kind of sum up what you know about the second chapter from Rabbi Hillel, what we've studied? If anybody would want to volunteer, and there's no right or wrong answers. Whatever you remember, that's already something we can work with.
If nobody's going to say, I'll say, but maybe somebody else will say.
Beautiful. Go ahead. So you are.
So I just spent the past hour doing 2/3 of the Mitteler Rebbe, that page. So the way I understand it, Tavuna is the ability. Let's say it's like this: the difference between Bina and Tavuna. If I'm an Ish Tavuna, why does it say Ish Tavuna Yadlena? I'm able to go to the, let's see it in a simple way. If I'm an Ish Tavuna, I'm able to go to an idea that's so concealed and so deep and bring it out, sort of in the way that the Rebbe does, bring it out to revelation in a way that it's so tangible that you wonder, it doesn't seem deep to you at all. And I'm just saying the example for me of the Rebbe, will ask these questions and say, well, this Mefarish doesn't really answer it, and that one doesn't really answer it well. And then the Rebbe reconstructs the whole argument and comes out with such a simple answer. Everybody scratches their heads and wonders, that was so simple. Why didn't we figure it out? Because it was so deep. It was so deeply concealed. But the way the Rebbe, because the Rebbe is the ultimate Ish Tavuna, he's able to bring it out from its depths to make it seem like it was never even a deep idea. It's just there on the surface, very revealed and very simple, and make it so tangible that you can talk about how it relates to shoelaces and sushi and everything possible in such a very simple, practical way, and even bring it out to, halacha, yes, no. Okay, that's what I understood.
I mean, yeah, that's beautiful. That's exactly what it is. And basically, the Rebbe Hillel and the Mitteler Rebbe, the second chapter is very much to show us how the process of Hisbonenus brings us to the lowest and the most mundane aspect of our life, using what we've learned. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that we want to make sure that Chassidus is the rising of the Torah, right? It's the deepest level of Torah, and that's explained at length in many different places throughout Chassidus. And the diuk in a few days ago, there was Hayom Yom that talked about what does this mean? Mimal Mamash, because Mimal Mamash truly talks about two absolutely separate aspects of Chassidus, right? Mimal means it's the highest level, and Mamash is the lowest level. lowest, the most tangible way. And this is the power of Chassidus that is able to reveal the highest parts of our neshama to be dwelling in the lowest part of our being, which is our body, and more specifically is our heart of flesh. And that is done through tvuna. So now let us not mistaken ourselves and think that we need to do something for the tvuna to occur. Meaning we need to work on integrating things into our being. That's actually not so. Because in Avodas HaMoichin, the Rebbe says that we are engaging with a very, very deep and lofty concept. And by doing so, the tvuna is an automatic process that happens to us mimela. It's automatically. How do you know that somebody has tvuna or not? If he's able to bring down the concept on the very low mundane level. That's how we know. That's what? Somebody said something. So anyway, so that's, this is the goal of us understanding. So the first chapter mainly focuses on how the light of Hashem travels up with us, right? As we go higher and higher and we reveal our Bina Liba, right? The Bina Liba kicks in, and that's how we are able to, this is the process of Isbainunus going up from Omek and upwards, Omek Amusik and upwards. And the second chapter mainly focuses to show us how the same Isbainunus travels on the way down simultaneously. While we are attaining our heights, that's what happens. The descent happens automatically. Okay. So, that's prerequisites of, just a simple understanding of what we get out of the second chapter. And then we went into this whole long process that Rebbe Hillel explained us, the levels, right? What happens when we are just staying on the level of Yisrael Saba, right? Which is the midas of Chochmah, and the levels of Tevuna, which is the midas of Bina. Okay, and how, just have clarity, a map. Oh, these are the levels. And by looking at this map, we're capable of understanding, where am I holding in terms of this descent? And now my tricky question to you, let me see. What happens if you find yourself somewhere, I don't know, in a Moichin of Chachma, let's say. It's quite far till the Maisa B'Poel. What do? Or perhaps you find yourself in Nehi of Chachma, right? We discussed all these levels at length. We created all kinds of charts. I'm sure if you cannot recall it offhand, doesn't matter, right? You could just always look it up at all your whatever we sent you, all the maps and all that stuff. What do? You don't seem to really bringing it down. You don't seem to see that, it's really going down. What do? It's a tricky question.
I don't know if there's an answer to this, but I would take a deep breath and stop thinking about it.
Okay. But there is an answer to the question. It's an obsessive compulsive answer, actually. To answer to all the questions that people have. Well, come on, let's go. Mitteler Rebbe and Rebbe Hillel, especially those who are going to be joining us to Kuntrasei Philos, you're going to get the same answer. And at one point you'll be like, okay, is that all? This is like an answer for all my questions? Yes.
He's born
Exactly. Go deeper to his bainanus. You don't see it manifesting? No problem. Go deeper to these bainanus. You don't see your life being filled with, you don't see Hashem's revelation and all the details of your life? No problem. Go deeper to his bainanus. Okay. Oh, I got stuck in a project. I don't know, blah, 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 da, da, da. Go deeper to his bonus. And you ask yourself, like, oh man, this is it. I mean, there's no special meditation, maybe. There's no quick fix answers or anything like that. No, there's no quick fix answers. There's no retreat, nothing. It's your work. It's really a hard work of breaking our limited perceptions into godliness and expanding your mind. That's the only answer. And people ask, like, how come? Like, come on, really? Yeah, very simple. It's actually a very beautiful answer. And now the scientists are picking up and they help us to understand, why is this so? Why is this expanding our cognition, expanding our awareness, expanding our consciousness is what actually gonna bring our salvation? Why is it? Anybody can guess an answer?
Because you have to make it yours. And by thinking
Fine. So
about it,
how by making it mine will help it? You're right. It has to be mine. But how is it helping? What is the mechanism? Come on. Women, for 2 years, you're breaking your mind on the structure of how is it? Especially, okay, I'm going to give you a little hint, especially those who join us with the feel of the Moshe Mimer. Why is it? Why the answer is in my work? It's like, hello, can Hashem do anything? And Hayom Yom yesterday was also talking about avoida b'koach atzmai, like you gotta do it. Like, it's mine, but I want to more bring your awareness as to why, because we all get frustrated. We all get frustrated. Like, what? Why me? Like, why can't Hashem give it to me? Like, why I have to struggle? Why?
it's not yours unless you really earn it. The Hizbonanut helps you earn it, not
Fine,
just
but
receive it.
But is the
You're
question,
right.
why do I have to
So
struggle,
structured.
or why am I not getting the results that I
Why
want?
the whole point is in you, right? Why the responsibility is on us. It's true we're gonna earn it, but I'm talking about focus more on structure of the world. Focus more on the structure. This is the key word, right? Because everybody thinks like, oh, who cares about the structure? Why do I need to know Shari Yichud? Why do I need to know the structure of the world? Like, who needs this? I could be just chagasnik, I'm just gonna go to whatever, and they're gonna give me this like amazing mantra, and I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna feel all beautiful. Why structure? Why? What structure teaches us? Structure teaches us something very, very fundamental. Okay, so let's ask this question enough. Let's prime our brain a little bit. What is it? Come on, let's turn on all. Okay, let me ask you. The world, the way you experience. One second, somebody's writing something. I can't keep up with the okay. Does expanding your mind means letting go of expectations? We're not there yet. It is no, why we expect Hashem to be revealed by us, so we can never altruistically go up to expectations, because we want to have experience with Hashem. That's our primary expectations. So how can we let go of expectations? Right? Bitachon involves resigning to the fact that what we want isn't always what we need. No, disagree with that. This is totally different discussion. I want to focus. The way you experience your reality is what?
Through your
What is it?
senses. Through your
What?
senses. I don't know if my mic, through your senses.
Through your senses. Very good. Are they objective or subjective?
Totally subjective.
Beautiful. It's totally subjective. So the way we experience our reality, which is ultimately the way we experience God, because God is everywhere. Hashem's greatness is being revealed right here, right now. Okay. beyond anybody's. It's like it's a fact. But at the same time, I'm sitting right now in my kitchen, okay, with my two kids who don't have anything to do, okay, and they, like, you see, popping in and out occasionally, right? I may not necessarily experiencing God at the moment, right? But there's an essence of Hashem, the Rebbe says, right? Moreover, the Rebbe pumps us with reality of having Geula Amitis V'Ashlema right here, right now, right? What a teaser for us, right? We are screaming about Mashiach, we are screaming about this, we are screaming about we need this, we need that, all these things. And the Rebbe is like, in a way, like, okay, guys, there's something wrong with you, okay? Open your eyes. Geula is here, Mashiach is here, the world is ready, everything is ready, you are ready. We had the last Dvar Malchus, the shortest Dvar Malchus that the Rebbe gave us is, collectively, Vayakil was in Parshas Vayakil, says, Vayakil, we're all done. Collectively, Yakil was Kehila. We're all done, the Mashiach is here. Okay, Pikude, whatever, Rebbe doesn't say it openly, but Pikude is the details. That's you do on your own. And we're like, what's going on here? So basically, right here, right now, as we hear in the Zoom room, right, we have this amazing revelation of Atzmus Umuz happening all around us, and yet we are like, what? What's going on? Where is Hashem? Right? Every single person right here who's sitting here does not see the revelation of Hashem the way they want to see, and that's what's called Golus Pnimi, right? And like, why is it? Okay, why is it so? Well, let me show you something.
Because we have to make a kli, ourselves a kli, to be able to handle the revelation.
Okay, good. So let's imagine, very good, because we have something which is called our brain, like right here, right? So all this light, all this objective light that's all around us, right, could shine from today until tomorrow, okay? And it could shine for another 30 years. They've been shining for over, since Tafshinun Base, have been shining for over 30 years, 33 years to be exact, okay? And yet we're like, we feel like dummies, right? Which you read Tafshinun Aleph, Tafshinun Base, you're like, it seems like it's not our reality. And yet, if not for the fact that the Rebbe would say that it is our reality, we wouldn't know, right? It's like I'm really envisioning myself as a pilot who lost sight. And a lot of times by pilots, by the way, it's a common, excuse me, guys, just, take care of yourself. Thank you. By pilots, very often what happens is that their senses could get distorted. It's a phenomenon. It's a phenomena, but it's common knowledge. So they might be thinking that they are upside down, but they truly floating correctly, or they might be thinking that Shemaim is up and Aretz is down, and it's all truly not true. Okay, because the senses, which is the inner ear, by the way, inside the inner ear, that we all have a sense of balance. Okay, and by the pilot, sometimes it gets very distorted, especially when they fly at night, especially when they fly over the water, where they get totally confused. Even the most experienced pilots get confused with that. Okay, so what do they do? How do they know what's up and down, what's left and what's right? The monitors. The monitors is the only sense of truth they should be believing in, and not their own senses. Why? Because their own senses are extremely subjective. The only objective truth that the pilot has is his monitors. That's it. Even if he's very experienced, it doesn't matter how many years they fly. They need to believe the monitors. This is the only objective truth they have. And I think we are pretty much in the seats, right? Here we go. We're flying our plane as the pilot, hopefully. We are the pilots, right? That's another discussion, right? And we might get totally confused, to the point that the Rebbe says that we are going to call darkness light and light darkness. So who are our monitors? Our monitors, these are the words of the Rebbe, right? This is our tableau in a way. So why am I saying this, right? So because we could really be in exceptionally subjective reality, and we might expand, we are, it's a fact. So how in the world can we sense a true reality? So what are our chances of being programmed into Golos, not only by our life experience, but generationally for the last 2,000 years? We have absolutely no concept of what godly revelation means, because we absolutely none of us experience what this means to come to the Beis Hamikdash and to see Hashem. What do you think they saw there? They wanted to see meat? No, they wanted to see God. And that's what everybody had, this amazing, beautiful nevuos and experiences of God. And yet we are living here in our generations, and we are called the Yemaisa Mashiach, and we completely don't have it. Why is it? Because of our subjective reality, because we process information through our own senses, and our own senses are not trained yet to see God. And for this reason, you see in the first chapter, the Rebbe is taking us into this whole beautiful novel thing, which is called chush, right? What is chush? Chush is sense, our ultimate sense of how we develop reality, okay? Of how we interpret reality, And this chush is what really makes us perceive things the way we perceive things. And who remembers? Chush is based on what? On our ratzon. Where is our desire? Right? Where is our desire? So now, if I am so subjective, okay, what is the maslul? What is the track that I could leave my subjectivity and rise higher and change and actually embody Das Elyon, embody Hashem's perspective, not my limited perspective based on my experiences, traumas, and all that stuff? How in the world am I capable of letting go? Where's the maslul? Where's the, like a path? Right? And that clarity is his boinanos. Because what his boinanos does? His boinanos takes us from our own very, very small cognitive processes, okay, and helps us expand our mind to understand something other than us, to understand God, right? That's his objective truth. And when we busy ourselves with that, what ends up happening is that something opens up in our brain, okay? Something opens up in our brain. The lens, okay, that transforms true reality into our subjective reality gets cleaned up a little bit. So the light that's coming anyway, okay, has more chances of penetrating into me, so my perception of reality changes. You see how it happens? So imagine like it just lights coming in like this, and it's like the eye, right? What happens with the eye? There is a lens, right, inside our eye, and the light goes in, travels all the way to the back of our brain for interpretation, okay? And that's how we see objects. Bezrat Hashem, in the third chapter, this is one of the mashalim, is the sight, the eye, okay? And when I understand that even what I see is subjective, okay? How do we know this? Let's say there is diseases which is called cataract, right? This cataract is the thing that covers a pupil. It's like a little thing. I don't even know what that is. Anyway, it's a like this is the hole, right? It covers the part of the hole. If a child who is born with this disease or develops this disease within the first 4 years, if they don't remove this cataract from his eyes, okay, before the age of 4, while the brain is still developing to interpret visual input, what happens is that if they remove it after the age of 4, the person's still going to remain blind on that part of the eye. But you might say, like, excuse me, but the obstacle already removed. Why is the child still going to be blind? Well, because the brain in that part that's supposed to see and interpret, those nerves never developed. So even imagine, like, what does this mean? But the reality is right in front of him. Why he's not going to be seeing? Because in order to see, we need to have receptors to see. So yes, we are spiritually blind because there's so much godliness is being revealed in front of us right here, right now. We don't have receptors to see it. Good news, we could develop those receptors to see it. And to develop those receptors to see godliness is our hard work and the work of his Bainanus, to see godliness. This is what the goal is. And that will not happen. How do we know? Because it hadn't happened up until now. The Rebbe had been screaming about the Mashiach 33 years ago, even before that. But it hadn't happened to us, right? We've heard, we were exposed to this, and we also don't see much change. On the contrary, something terrible as October 7th could happen after Tafshin and Aleph, Tafshin and Beis Sichis. So how is that possible? Right? All these questions are cooking inside of our brain, right? And our heart, and we are in pain. But at the same time, how is to change? To change is, you cannot change my perception. I could change my perception. But good news is we could have Yosef Karo effect. What does this mean? By us changing our perception, because we are collectively interrelated as one neshama. All Yidden are like one soul, is Periklamet base of Tanya, right? And we have one Father. So technically speaking, my avodah will eventually help you to come to your realizations and vice versa. But yet, still, there is something that we need to do on our own. And that's what this Bainanus is. Okay. This Bainanus is changing my limited perception and expanding my mind into understanding godly structure and how Hashem created this world and what is the structure of this world. And for this reason, that's why we're involved in this Avodah. Otherwise, there's no need to be involved in this Avodah, because the point of this Avodah is to actually see how this world do not conceal him. This is the key word. That this world do not conceal godliness. And when our brain will start realizing that, that's when we're going to have the revelation of Hashem by default, because this is the structure. Because Hashem is constantly revealing himself to us. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to prepare ourselves to receive this. So now, asking Hashem to reveal himself more, he's been revealing himself, his essence to us. That's how we breathe. That's how we live. That's how we move. Hashem is consciously doing that, standing face to face with us, with Hashgacha Pratis. And yet we don't feel that. And yet we're like, what's the story? Where are you? Right? So this is what is going on. It's a long story. Okay, any questions on that?
Just want to speak to what Nachama wrote in the chat there. She says, I'm guessing that we want it, and I speak for myself, but fear that we are not ready for this high level of revelation. And I
That's
think,
not, you're never Bahamas.
yeah,
Sorry.
I think part of the way why that's not true is because with the Hisbonenus process, you're building a vessel, you're building your keli. So you're never overwhelmed by the light that you receive because it's a slow process, and because you are then ready for whatever light is coming in, whatever revelation is coming in, you're a vessel to receive it. Because it's not like somebody is giving you light that you can't contain. So
That's a great point that you're bringing up.
yeah, the Hisbonenus process is the way that I actually suddenly understood it in relation to Tanya, I understand it for myself, is that the Hisbonenus process is basically what the Alter Rebbe talks about as the long short way. It's this process of meditating on Hashem. And so the results are slow, but they're steady. And you build a vessel and you get whatever your vessel has prepared itself for. So there's no sense of like that I'm going to be blown away and have shvirat hakelim. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yes, Nechama, yes, we are training our Nefesh Bahamas in the process for sure. We are working primarily with our Nefesh Bahamas.
I think in a way, chapter 2 tells us that, because it's not just an intellectual process. Chapter 2 is telling us that this bonus process is also working on our emotions. So we also are building a vessel emotionally to deal with whatever it is that, we're just expanding intellectually and emotionally at the same time. Mila, should we do chapter 2?
Yes, Bezrat Hashem. So let me share my screen, and we're going to start after this long story introduction. We're going to go into our chapter 2, okay, of Hebrew English, okay, translation. Let me just turn on my annotate so you see exactly where I am in the text. And okay. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you see everybody? Everybody sees? Yeah. Great. And it is known that Bina has 2 levels, Bina and Tvuna, right? Bina Tvuna, he bechinas ispashtus or habina. Okay. And what is the Tvuna? Tvuna is the descent, the spreading forth, meaning hispashtus usually means from up to down. Okay. Because another word for hispashtus is manifestation. Fancy word, right? Manifestations of the Bina. Mashakasu Bazar, as it's written in Zar, the Ima Ba'aba Tatain, that they are lower mother and father, which are Ham, Yisrael, Saba, and Tvuna. That says Yisrael, Saba, and Tvuna. Benikra Ima Tata, and this is called the lower Ima, the lower mother. Okay. Why this happens, right? This happens. Mitzat klita heitev bekli hamekabel ha'asaga debina, right? Which is the klita. This is the word for tvuna, the registration, a full absorption. Okay, in the keli of the mekabel, in the vessel of the mekabel, the hasaga of the bina. Okay, va'alkein mispashet ba'ala vi'ah. And how it really manifests, it manifests itself that it comes forth, okay, in the things that are separate from the essence of the hasaga. Meaning is capable of application. This is we're talking about already a cognitive process of application. There's an ability to apply the concept beyond the concept itself. And that's what the name Ishtvuna comes from. Right? Like this deep waters, the Ishtvuna is the one who brings it forth. Right? Doesn't take you, okay, come, let's jump together to that depth. But you know what? Don't worry, stay on the seashore, I'll bring that to you. Okay, Mayim Amukim and Bechinas Amkos Bina. What is Mayim Amukim? This is the depth of Bina. Shenishar Behelam Atzmius, right? It stays in the concealment, right? It stays there. But Ishtvuna, the Ishtvuna Dafka Yidalena. Ishtvuna is the one that's going to be drawing it out. Why? V'yishavena. right? And he is bring it out in a revealed way, mina elam, from the concealment, la'avia leispashut bekama ofanim shonim, right? He's able to actually draw this water and go ahead and apply it in all kinds of different fields. Okay, l'ravat etz hamikablim, right? So to benefit the makablim, he's capable of doing that. Right? Like the person who actually brings out deep waters. Okay, lahashket hatzain, right? To quench the thirst of the sheep. That's how I feel, right? Our Rebbeim bring all this water to give us some water to drink. Okay, and that's how we actually observe this, okay, this concept. Amukim mahakil hasagas adam, anikra mayim amukim. Right? We make actually clearly see that when the reasoning of the concept, right, is too deep to be retained in the comprehension of the man, this is called deep waters, right? Deep is like, we could also say like unclear. You know, when we hear something very, very deep, you're like, wow, this is fascinating, but you don't really know what that is, right? It's like kind of like hidden, which is the aspect of the depth of the comprehension, omek amusak, right? Right, that from which the length and the width comes, as previously explained. The ish ba'al tvuna dafka yidalena, right? And specifically one who possesses the power of tvuna, he can draw it out. Why? Pirush sheyotze ha'or bechinas helam ba'omek hamusag ad sheyochel hasagat adam. So what he's capable of doing, he's capable of taking this very hidden concept, says, oh, you know what? Let me take it out, meaning I'm going to draw out the length and the width from this point, okay? So these deep waters can be comprehended by all, okay? That he does it in a way, he's able to explain it in such a simple and such a relatable way that people think like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. It's not deep anymore. What do you mean it's not deep anymore? So it could be profound, but deep means it's no longer hidden. Okay? Right? Shemikaref es ha'omek. Shemikrava omek, right? Like the one who draws down the deep waters and brings the depth itself close to the people. Okay? It's a very special talent to do that, right? Not everybody, you know, sometimes, you know, you speak to this mystical people and they remain mystical. You have no idea what they're talking about, right? You cannot relate to it, right? So because the Ish Tvuna is capable of explaining, okay, it in the most external way, what does this mean? I'll tell you what it is. Because truly how things work in godliness, okay, that's how things work in the physical world. It's the same structure. It's a fact. Why? Because this world comes from godliness. So when we understand the godly structure, we actually could understand our world in a better terms. We can understand the relationships between husband and wife, between kids and children, between siblings, understanding how companies are being built, understand how due processes take place. Yeah, that just, everything works this way. Why? Because everything is built with Hashem's consciousness in it, although it's not open and hid and revealed. So when a person studies Chassidus, okay, he uncovers how things are being structured in spiritual worlds. Okay, that gives him, if he studies it well enough, that gives him an understanding of how things in this physical world work. Okay, so when he reaches that level, he's capable of telling you, hey, you know this concept, that's how you should be doing things in the physical world. And the person may be like, wow, before it was a remove the relationship between Chachma and Bina and Zoin Malchus and all the spiritual realms. But now This helps me understand how I should relate to my husband, how I should relate to my kids, how should I run my company. Yeah, does that make sense? So all of a sudden, Ish Tvuna is the one who takes all these deep concepts, and not is just like, this magical, mystical things. No, he demystifies them. He says, no, it's actually very simple. That's how it works here. Okay, so this is the process we're talking about. And it is done specifically with the one who possesses the power of Tvuna. Why power of Tvuna? Because a person on such a deep level understands the principle of how things work. And once you understand the principle of how things work, you're capable of applying it to other world situations that actually use the same principle. That's just how the world is, because the world is not a random creature. The world is a system. Okay, and this world uses the same system as in the upper worlds. Okay, so when we understand that, it's easier for us to live in this world. Okay. Okay, but לפי זה מוכרח לומר שכוח התבונה הוא כוח המספש as כוח הבינה לביאה עומקה לגילוי למטה למקבלים. And to simplify it, and according to this, we must say that the power of the Bina, okay, and the power of its manifestations, okay, from the power of Bina, to bring its depth, to make it revealed down here to the Mekabla. That's it. That's what it is. Now, we have to understand what happens if you are not Ish Tvuna. What happens, right? Masha'enken she'ena Ish Tvunot. Right? And the Diyuk Tvunot is not only one Tvuna, there's Tvuna in many different aspects, right? Interestingly, Bina usually refers to Bina, right? And Tvuna can have plural. Why is it? Because there's multiple applications of the same Bina, right? Gam shehu ba'al hasaga hamayach de Bina, although he actually comprehends it very beautifully in his intellect of Bina, v'nikra tafsan b'lashon ha'olam, right? And that person is called tafsan. Tafsan comes from the word tofes, catches things. We call it, I guess, in our language, we could call it a bright person, right? We use it a lot with children, right? With such a bright child. I mean, he catches things, right? He's fast, okay? It could happen that his comprehension will stay in his brain the way it is, in his essence. In his bina. What does this mean? This means that he has disconnect between what he comprehends with his intellect, that I could be an amazing, please, that I could be this amazing intellectual, okay, and comprehends deep ideas in Chassidus, but at the same time, I cannot know how to earn a living. Okay. Or I have very bad relationship with my wife, my children, my family, my co-workers, whatever that be, right? I just don't know how to relate to them. I'm so whole and removed. I'm detached from this world, right? So if you meet these people, they're amazing people. They know Torah a lot, and they, the grasp is phenomenal, but they are missing the power of application, right? Because Torah is not b'shamayim, right? The Torah is not in heaven. Ish Tvuna, he knows how to apply in this world. And that actually happens automatically. But you see the result. Ish Tvuna is a result. Okay. And the other guy, he just remains in this world of intellect. And therefore, he's unable to apply it, right? Come in any separate matters outside of the essential comprehension itself. Okay, so he just remains to be an intellectual thing. Okay, And that's what actually you should know, that this is what Klipas Amalek is. Okay, Klipas Amalek is, Amalek comes from the word Malika. What's Malika? Okay, those of you who know the Karbonosis in a Beis Hamikdash, the doves, right, are being brought down as a korban by a process which is called Malika, right? There's a Malika where the Kohen Gadol had like this long nail, and he was able to separate the head of the bird from behind.
What color salt or chalk?
Yes. He was able to, yeah, just 1 second. But after davening, you first have to daven. Daven, you and Moshe, and then you could do that thing. Now, he separated the head, he's beheading. So part of the Klipas Amalek is they kind of beheading us, right? They're keeping the head away from the body. By Klipas Amalek, you could learn Torah is absolutely no problem. You could learn Torah, you could be very highly intellectual person. But the minute you want to, in a way, have an intention to bring it down into practicality, that's where the challenge begins, right? And this is exactly what we're talking about. That's separate, right? Amalek doesn't like when we, try to apply what we learn, right? Amalek is like, this cold intellectual perception, right? Asher karcha b'derech, right? He cooled you off on the way, right? On the way to what? Right? On the way of leaving Mitzrayim and coming closer to God. And that's the process that we should be very, very aware of. If you have thoughts of like, who needs this bainanos? It's okay, I could just learn this amazing sichas amarim and blah blah blah, and just be an intellectual, right? And then kvetch all my life that I cannot apply Chassidus. There's something wrong with Chassidus. No, there's nothing wrong with Chassidus. We do our bainanos, and that's what will manifest the application of Chassidus. Okay. And you might argue, you could say, excuse me, didn't you say in the first chapter that Hasaga, the Bina, right, has Orech, Rochav, and Omek? Why are you saying that I'm going to be intellectual? No, actually, Omek brings out Orech, right? I'm going to have clarity. I will be able to explain it to even a small child, etc., etc. Akol hu rag be'etzem hasaga. You're right. You're just going to explain to the simple child the essence of the hasaga. You won't be able to apply. That's the difference, right? The whole point of Tuvuna that I've mastered the essence of the concept to such an extent that from this essence of the concept, not only that I could explain to the small child the essence of the concept, no, that's Bina, that's still Bina. I've mastered the concept to such an extent that I could cook my cholent based on that concept. That's what you could say, like, what's the connection between cholent and your concept? Well, I'm a woman, my mind makes connections, right? There is something about that concept that taught me something that's separate from that concept, right? And that you could do only when you understand the principle of things, okay? And that's what's called Navon, Nevin Davar Mitoch Davar, that he understands one thing from another thing, okay? And that's in Lashon of this world, we call it intelligence, right? Intelligent people don't need to be taught every area of life. They learn one area of life and they know it so well that they could apply it to other areas of life. Okay, that's how we check intelligence on IQ tests, right? This is what IQ test is. Okay, that you never taught, you cannot study for an IQ test, a true IQ test, right? I don't know, there's a lot of things in the world that claim to be an IQ test. IQ test measures your power of application. Okay, whatever you already know, how can you apply it to scenarios that are outside of these concepts, not related to this concept? Okay, all of a sudden they're going to show you all kinds of bunch of pictures and patterns and all kinds of things. You never learned this. Okay, so you might think like, oh, it's not fair. You never gave me these questions, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how you study for an IQ test. IQ test is application of what you already know. Okay, and also measures the amplitude, how far you can apply things. Because sometimes you could just a little bit deviate and apply for that. But they ask you for a completely different subject, completely different fields, how you can apply what you've already learned. Okay, because after all, an intelligent person understands the few principles by which the world runs. That's it. That's what an intelligent person is. And that's why some people have 80% IQ. Okay, and we call them in Hebrew Rosh Katan, right? It's a person who just does a very concrete operational. And there are people who have 160 IQs, right? And that's why these are the geniuses. They turn the world upside down. And there's just sit and work in one area, and that's it. And 9 to 5 jobs, and you know, etc., etc. Okay, and that person only applies to the etzem of his asaga, the way it is, meaning undiluted, unapplied, just an intellectual concept. But he's unable to descend, to bring it down to another concept. Okay. Let me see, what would that be? And that depth of the musak remains in his depth, in a concealed way for himself. And it's the same for the orach and the rachav. Everything remains there in a potential to be revealed. Okay, right? In its place alone. That's it. In that state alone. Right? Okay, and the example for all this we can see in the depth of the logical debate in the Talmud. Right, in which there are many all kinds of reasons. Anybody who was part of the pilpul, I guess eventually you'll pass out. I once listened to one. After the third sentence, I lost the logic of what they began and all that, right? So you really need to be very highly intellectual to be able to follow the pilpul, right? The pilpul is an exceptionally, deep stuff. Whatever. So just make yourself a favor. Go online and say pilpul in any concept of the Talmud and try to follow it. Okay. I'm sure there are many online pilpulim. Okay. What is this? What is he trying to say? Hagam shabayim bahasaga debina. Although in order to create such a pilpul, you have to be a giant in Torah, right? You have to be a highly intellectual person. Aval lo yuchla adayin lo atzila or etzem asechel eze psagdin chayav azakai klal. And nevertheless, although it's so deep and profound and lofty, they yet are unable to bring a specific din, a din Torah, a ruling, a verdict. Is it innocent? Is he guilty? From the essential intellect. Why is it? Because they still stay in the realms of possibilities, right? But to apply for halacha, you need to be even greater giant to understand the principle of the halacha, and to understand how in this particular situation, this could be applied or not applied. Okay, in other words, one is not capable of bringing out any guilty verdict from the reasoning or any innocent verdict from the reasoning. Why is it? This is because, as of yet, these concepts and explanations are only theoretical abstractions. Okay, right? One will therefore not find any spreading forth into the matter which are separate from them. Okay? In other words, he will not be capable of applying these reasons and explanations in practice as state of guilty or innocent wording themselves, right? Shu chayav al yada or zakas al yada, right? He cannot apply. Why he cannot apply? Because he didn't have tvuna in it. What do you mean he didn't have tvuna in it? He didn't go deep enough into the concept. That's the reason. Not because there is something wrong with this power of application. And I will say it thousands of times. There is no power of application. The power of application depends on how deeply you went into the concept. That's it. There is no a separate power of Yerida. No. When you go deep enough into the concept, the Yerida will come on its own. That's why, what do? Let's say you catch this person and you can say, you know what, enough kilpulin. Teach me halacha. What should I do? Is it kosher or treif? What is he going to do? Okay, let me just meditate to try to manifest a decision. No, that's not what the Rav will say. Say, you know what, give me a day. I'm going to go deeper into these halachas. I'm going to read more of the Rishonim, Achronim, and all other guys who will broaden and deepen my knowledge, and then I will bring you the psagdin. And in order to bring up psagdin, you have to be even greater, even deeper person. Okay, so let's not fool ourselves that there's some kind of magic that will teach us a power of manifestation. There's no power of manifestations. The deeper you go, the more powerful you'll bring it down. And it will happen automatically. Okay, that's why the whole of Chassidus is learning the deep secrets of Torah. So why would you deep secrets of Torah? Why can't, one second, why do we need to learn deep secrets of Torah? Why can't we just manifest? You can manifest. If you don't understand something deep enough. If your brain didn't create that circuitry, there is nothing to manifest. And he will create that circuitry, your brain will create that circuitry only by you exerting your brain to understand. This is the only tool we have. This is the only shovel. Okay, and that's for this reason, in my opinion, in Tabshinun Beis, the Rebbe said, Avodas HaMoichin Sicha. Avodas HaMoichin Sicha says, okay, enough of Avodas HaMidris. Avodas HaMoichin is when you go deep into the concept. And out of all Rebbeim, okay, the Rebbe chooses Mitteler Rebbe, right? That you completely just break your mind. Okay, by the way, today I found a mistake in Hayom Yom. There is a mistake actually. In Hayom Yom it says, and when the Mitteler Rebbe was giving short ma'amarim, and at that moment I just paused. I'm like, Mitteler Rebbe was giving short ma'amarim? What are you talking about? And I looked at translation, it says Alter Rebbe. And I showed it to my husband. I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? Mitteler Rebbe, Alter Rebbe. We know that the Alter Rebbe, before Petersburg, he was giving short ma'amarim. After Petersburg, he started giving long ma'amarim. That's a known knowledge. And then he checked an original Hayom Yom. It says, originally it said Admor Emtzai, and then they put in brackets as a correction, Admor Azakin. Because Mitteler Rebbe never gave short ma'amar. It doesn't exist, this concept. Why? Because in order to brainwash our Golos mentality, you need a long story. What do you mean you need a long story? Yes, because there's so much circuitry going on there. There's so much happening there in our brain. You need a long story for this. That's it. Because it's like you need to wash it away, right? When something is dirty, okay, or you want to kasher a pot. There's a beautiful story of Rebbe Rashab and his Rebbetzin about they were kashering one samavar. It's a beautiful story. So they were like pouring this hot water. I don't know why. I think they didn't have all the kalim came back on time because usually the Rebbein wouldn't kasher things. And he was like pouring a lot of hot water. And the Rebbetzin was concerned about the neighbor downstairs that would complain a lot. So she said to him, oh, the tachton is going to, I'm scared of a tachton or something like this, the one who lives below. And the Rebbe, you're not afraid of the alien. I was like,
Mommy,
Okay.
can I get a clear cup?
yes, you could get a clay cup. Okay, so that's the story. Meaning, you can clean something to make it kosher with a little bit of water. You need an immersion, right? There's prerequisites, right? You need water. You even if you could say, oh, I'm going to go to the wellspring and I'm going to immerse myself. According to halacha, it could be less than 40 sa, right? If you go to Arizal's mikvah, you see it's not so big. It's not 40 sa. If it's connected to the wellspring, but it still has to be enough to embody you, right? You cannot just stick your hand and say, oh, my whole body is going to be toiveled. No, it still has to be enough water to immerse, because this is how we change. We change with water, with a lot of water. And Mitteler Rebbe provides a lot of water for us. Okay, that's why it's Rechovos Anar. And that's what it is. We can't just use a little bit of water and then, as my teacher used to say, a lot of times we could immune ourselves with a little bit of Torah. No, a lot. Isbainanus is not just like, oh, I'm doing 5 minutes. Isbainanus, you really open your door, okay, into a new consciousness, into a new ways of understanding, and you never close that door. And B'ezrat Hashem, in Kuntres Ispailos, we're going to learn at different stages of what happens to our mind, what happens to our heart, what happens to our behavior. Okay, when we go through different levels of consciousness, as we do Hisbainanus, by all means, the primary work remains Hisbainanus. Okay, is really breaking our old perceptions, our stigmas, okay, and literally just being ready to shatter all this. Okay, and that's what it is. Hayuli. Hey, this is a famous word, right? And this is like the power of Hayuli, right? The famous Yuli power, right? In which is not yet known what will result from it or what could be done with it, right? You have a piece of clay, could do anything with it, right? So all of a sudden, the understanding of the Bina becomes that power of a potential, right? But nothing, we don't know yet what will come out of it. Okay? And it is therefore understood that the power of Tvuna, which spreads forth from the mind of Bina, right? That which means that in his abilities to bring out the essence of the Hasaga and to manifest it down below in something which is completely separate from it. Okay, whether this means that thing is going to be the verdict is going to be guilt or innocence, or lehispile believe, or it's going to arouse an emotion in the heart. Wow, right? Right, and furthermore, he's capable of bringing it into the thought in many different angles, right? Many different ways. Okay. Any questions up until now? I see 5 things on a chat. Let's just read them. Oh, which page in the Hebrew text? Okay, but that's answered. Okay. Okay, we can see patterns everywhere. Okay, good. Great. So these were most of the technical questions. Right. These are the patterns. This is Zion, probably. I'm not sure. The Bina.
Zayin Tachtonot. Zayin
Zion
Tachtonot.
Tachtonot. Thank you so much. Yeah. So these are the 7 lower parts of the Bina, right? Meaning Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, right? Because the 3 intellects were Gimel Reshit, right? So this is Zayin Tachtonis, right? There's a that in the Bina itself, we see the midas, which are called seven lower ones. V'nikra midas shebaseichel lemata, and these are called the midas that are in the seichel below. Kalfei zuchus, okay, or seichel lemata kalfei chayv, right? So here we go. We see that the same intellect is branched out, okay, pertaining to the seven lower spheres of Bina, and this is also called the emotions of the intellect that leans either towards merit or towards guilt, right? So the same is like that, okay? Meaning we're already coming to a decision, right? It's not just a concept, but it's actually a decision. I don't know, for some reason I lost my, you see anything or? Okay, sorry about that. So we would need to, anybody remembers what page we were in?
33.
33? Okay. Oh, here we go, right. Right? However, these midas in the seichel, when they're in the essence of the hasaga, they are concealed, right? Because the decisions are already in the concept. They are concealed. And the ishtvuna is the one who reveals it. Okay, so ishtvuna is smarter than not ishtvuna. But in order to bring these emotions into revelations, okay, right? So let's say you want to reveal, okay, in this particular application, is it yes or no? Because let's not fool ourselves. He is again reiterating that these midas are included in the essence of the seichel. These are not two separate things. Okay, meaning who is the one who will be able to draw down the decision? The one who studied and revealed those midas, how it would apply pertaining to this or the other. Shalpi ha-seichel v'azvora zois lamata ze mitpashet ze be'inyan l'chesed ha'gvura shebo dafka. Right? So, okay, nonetheless, to bring those emotions out of the revelation in a separate matter, okay, such as to shed light upon a certain case according to these concepts and reasonings, okay, and to actually cause the judgment of this matter to lean either to kindness or to sternness, specifically requires a man of tvuna. Okay, it is specifically a man of tvuna who can bring out insight and light from the emotional spheres of Bina. Okay, the ish tvuna, and this is ish tvuna, hainu koach haloket v'chi toiv le'etzem hasaga, and this is specifically ish tvuna, which is, okay, is that it has a thorough grasp of the essential comprehension. In Cain mitpashed hasaga bol asois v'larois ba kama inyanim nedale ligamri. Because of this, the comprehension spreads forth in him to do and to shed light upon many completely separate matters. Because he is even capable in bringing the depth of Bina itself into revelation. Okay? As explained above, and this will suffice for those who understand. And for this reason, Tuvuna is also called son and daughter. Yeah, these are children. That's beautiful. As we see that because Tuvuna has these three things, right? Which are what? The famous three-dimensional things. Omek, Orech, Verochav, Ha'omek hu etzem koach hatvuna. So now the Mitteler Rebbe is going to explain us all these three things, right? The omek is the essence of the power of the tvuna, hazois, sheba'ata ha'asaga, in that hasaga. Okay, so let's understand the principle of things. Omek, we know, is the thing itself, right? The connection, right? This is the essence of the koach hatvuna. So during our understanding process, at the same time, imagine your brain is just like wide open. There's like the special brain cells that are allocated for this new thing. I'll show you. I have fascinating document, like a little video about what happens when we learn new things. Okay, it's like this whole, neurons are spreading forth. It's such a beautiful thing to see. That's exactly what's happening to everybody in this room right now, right? It's like, whoa, what's going on here? Okay, so this is the omic. Okay, so at that moment of when we study our brain, something starts happening. So that's omic that's going on there on inside our brain. Okay. ובה יכול עומק ההשגה כנ"ל לבוא לידי גילוי. כנ"ל. בפרשה איש תבונה ידלנה. Right? And through this grasp, meaning through this omic, when your brain literally opens up and registers new information, okay, he is capable in bringing the very depth of the concept out into revelation. As was previously explained on a verse, the man Tvuna shall draw them depth out. That's the omek. Right? And the orech is when it goes down in another thing. In order to teach, right? And also to do a few different things, right? Laharis also means to bring up sagde. Now, what does this mean? The Rachav. The Rachav ubchinas is pashtus hatvuna be'etzem asaga. Okay, v'archiva b'machshava b'kama ribu efanim shonim v'lo kmo she'i levad. Now, the width is the aspect of the spreading forth of the tvuna, and this is essential comprehension itself to expand in his thoughts. Right? When we become obsessed about a particular subject, we can't stop talking and thinking about it. Right? So that's when tvuna is. Tvuna is not like, oh, I registered one little thingy and then that's it. No, the neuron starts spreading out and making connections with other things of the brain. And we start thinking about it. And we have a lot of aha moments like, oh, now I understand why 10 years ago it was like this. Now I understand why 11 years ago it was like that. And yesterday it was like that. Right? So we have a lot of aha moments when we have our rochav. Rochav is spreading forth of that thoughts. So it's not only using the language of the concept itself, but we use now our own language. This concept, every single one of us have our own language, our own expression of things, our own choice of words. All of a sudden, we're not just talking in the language of the concept. Now we are bringing it with personalization. It started making sense to us with our own vocabulary. Okay, now, Omasha Klula Tvuna mi ben ubat, right? The same way, now, the reason why Tvuna is called also ben ubat, Hainoma Shemitvuna Davka Yuld Hamides. Begiloi mahos bifnei atzma, right? Because what are the children? Children are the midas. So because the tvuna is the foundation of the midas, from her they're going to be born. Ki mibina atzma lo hayu told us amidas, afal pi shenikra emabanim. right? Aval hi ima ilah. Now, you might disagree. You could say, excuse me, am habanim, right? The bina is called am habanim. Why are you sticking in your tvuna? It's true, but she's upper mother, meaning she's a mother in theory, right? Bina is a mother in theory. Theoretically, she could be a mother, but practically, who actually gives birth is tvuna. Okay, because she's the one who conceives, right? Because you cannot give birth something if there's no conception. Meaning, it's like theoretically, yeah, Bina also could be a mother, but practically, once the mother becomes tvuna, right, actually gives birth, then she turns into tvuna. 1 second. Masha enkin hatvuna imatata lahalit amides. The tvuna is already a lower mother, right? She's bringing from potential into actuality, right? She actually gives birth to midas. And these are her children, a boy and a girl. Ava v'yira, right? Which is the love and fear, right? Guess who is Ava? A boy is Ava. That's why everybody loves boys. No, I'm just joking. And everybody feels scared for girls. This is just my sense of humor. But Yira is a woman, right? Because she's moved on the left side. Bina, Yira, and all that is, Guvura. These are all left side things. Okay, Shabaim b'iskololus hatvuna dafka, right? They're all coming through the tvuna. U'b'chinas eispashtus or habina lemata kanal, right? And this is already the manifestations of the light of the bina down below. Okay, v'gam lezeh hatam b'chinas hamoichin shebemidas nimshir b'chinas tvuna, mashukosu hey Hashem b'chochma yesod aret. Okay, the Abba Yisod Batra. Okay, it is also for this reason that the aspect of the intellect, of the emotions, is drawn from the aspect of Tvuna. Okay, this is as stated that Hashem founded the earth with Chachma and established the heavens with Tvuna. Okay, the first part of this verse, Hashem founded the earth with Chachma, refers to the fact that the father founded the daughter. Right, that's why there is like this amazing, interesting connection we see between all daughters being connected to the father, right? Okay, Kanan Shamayim Betvuna. Okay, Shamayim Hem Bechinas Amides, Ash Shamayim Keyedua. Right, what is Shamayim? The second part of the word said, He established the heavens with Tvuna. As known, the heavens, Shamayim, is the aspect of emotions, which is fire, ash, and water, mayim. Okay. V'chein u'v'tvuna yitkonen. Right, and similarly, he established it with tvuna. Shu b'chinas kiyum amides, b'chinas hamoichin de tvuna, shebahem, right, that this is the establishment of the emotions because of the aspect of the intellect of the tvuna. Ki b'tvuna kmo memutza, lahavi moichin b'chinas mides, the bina, mides shebalev. Because interestingly, he points out that the tvuna is like a memutza, there's this intermediary, okay, between the moichin, between the head, and between the emotions in the heart. And why is that? Well, very simply, because if I don't have circuitry in my brain, I cannot reflect it upon my heart. Because my whole consciousness is based on what goes through my brain. My brain is like a sifter. Okay? Any input that goes into me, it checks. Excuse me, is that familiar or not familiar? Is it dangerous or not dangerous? Is it okay to go through or not okay to go through into the consciousness? And if it's not okay, if you do not have circuitry in your brain that's developed, it's gonna go into unconscious revelation. Okay. And we want Hashem to be conscious revelation, right? We don't want just sleep. And that's why we say, Hayinu k'cholmim. Okay, that when we're gonna wake up from this deep slumber of Golos, we will like sleeping. What do you mean sleeping? When a person is sleeping, you know what? If you have like a kid who's a good sleeper, there's a whole situation could happen, and the guy is sleeping. Okay, you're a teenager, right? Sleeping on the couch. There's gonna be so many things going on. This guy is oblivious. He's sleeping. That's what happens to us, right? Meaning consciously we're unaware. Mashiach came already. He revealed himself. For 30 years, the guy is talking about things, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. And you're like, what Mashiach? Where? We're still sleeping, right? So that's what happens. Meaning we need to be working with our conscious mind as much as possible and to create as much as possible circuitry so we actually experience Mashiach. Okay, and that's why it says over here that the Tuvuna is memutza. Tuvuna is intermediary to bring the intellect from the aspect of emotions of Bina to the emotions of the heart, right? Because just because you're thinking about something doesn't mean you're actually feeling them. How can you feel them? We all have this question. Does Chabad means I need to be an intellectual? No. Chabad means you have to be so deeply involved with a godly intellect that it reflects in your heart. That's what it means. Okay, because as we saw now, who is going to be this Ish Tvuna is the person who understands the concept even better. Okay, who ikar inyan Tvuna. And it is similar to the power of bringing a concept into a separate matter, which is the principal aspect of Tvuna, as explained above. It's not that I understand the concept much better. No, it's that I understand it so good that I could apply it in something separate than the concept itself. Okay, וידוע גם כן איש נון כפופה. I'm sorry, וידוע גם כן שיש נון כפופה ונון פשוטה בבינה. As we all know, with the first question of Shara Yichud, one of the first questions, actually the third question of Shara Yichud, the first chapter about this mystical aspect of Nun, Nun Kfufa and Nun Pshuta of the Bina. Liyod Nun Kfufa hu harocha v'Nun Pshuta wa'orech. Right? And the Mitteler Rebbe lengthily summarizes everything what we know about it. Right? That the Nun Kfufa is the rochav, and the Nun Pshuta is the Orech. How do we know? Nun actually, Langer Nun, that's the name of it. Like this long Nun, that's the longest letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Okay? V'nun b'mimon shaloi b'nun pshuta. Okay, and as we see, the Nun, the way it's being spelled out, has the long Nun in it. Masha'enkin b'shar miloyoshis. And we don't see that in any other letter of the alphabet. That when you spell out the word Nun, which is Nun, Vav, Nun, meaning the Lange Nun, we see that only in the letter of Nun. We don't see this with other letters. It's to teach us this, right? Ki ha'oref nislal barochav. Okay? Bekachu betvuna. Because the length is included in a width, right? And we see that with Tvuna as well. Emnam nun hakafel be'inyan anikra is boinanus, right? However, in regards to the double nun, in the matter which is called is boinanus, kmo ami lo hisbonen chulu, right? As it was rebuked, we were rebuked. My nation does not contemplate. You understand? Even Hashem complains. It's like you don't contemplate, guys. Which is what v'zeu b'chinas pnimius bina, and this is the aspect of the pnimius of the bina nikra iyun. Right? This is we're talking about the pnimius of the bina, which is la'amod al davar chulu. Okay, this is in aspect of bina, which is called iyun, to stand upon the subject, etc. Shenikra bina shebebina. Now we're going even deeper. That the iyun is called bina of bina, and this is the memutza ben bina l'tvuna. Straight answer right here. You want tvuna? You need to do bina of bina. It becomes the memutza between nun pshuta, I'm sorry, ben bina latvuna becomes the mamutza between bina and tvuna, al yedei nun pshuta, through the long nun. Shemachmasei nikra his boinanus, chul v'dal. That because of this nun, or through this nun, this is called his boinanus. And this will be enough for those who understand. That's it. Yay, we did it. I think it was much simpler than Rebbe Hillel, I have to tell you, right? You're like, oh, that's all what it was. Right. And I think it also was much simpler than the Mitteler Rebbe's first chapter, right? First chapter was like, whoo, scared off so many of us. We're like, okay, we're not sure we're going into this.
That means now we're working.
Mila, can you show the title page? So I want to buy the Sefer.
To show you what?
The title page
Title page of what?
of what you were just, there, I'm assuming it's a Sefer, that I can buy the Sefer.
Markel's, I don't have the title page. What is the title?
Wait a
I don't even have that book. But it's basically what he did. It's just Mitteler Rebbe's Shari Yichud, and there's no Reb Hillel. They explain a little bit on the sides, I mean, on the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like literally just
I have the
translation.
translation of Benjamin Walters, but it only has the English. It doesn't have the Hebrew.
Oh, no, this one has the English, Hebrew as well. I think they were kind of like, debating what to do, but it's a
So
quite
is
thick book.
Is it available?
Yeah, you just contact Shimon Markel. Yeah, for sure.
I can't buy it in New York at Merco's?
That's, I don't know. I mean, I know that they have a bunch of these books, a bunch of these books in 770. I guess they bought it from somewhere. I have no idea how they appeared there. Maybe Kehus sells them, but I think somebody just posted, yes, in Neirot. Neirot.com, they sell it. I think you just order, they have like this, guys, please, thank you. It's basically like, it's an Amazon book. You buy it on Amazon and they print it just for that. Like they don't have it like in stock, I think. Or maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe they could send it to you, but that's what I understood.
It's also on the Google Drive.
I'm looking for a book.
Okay.
Not to print out hundreds of pages, but
People are eating on
So you can check out the
Also,
next.
salidonirot.com. Go there.
okay,
Yeah, let's just do it.
thank you.
We'll just do it. We'll wash it up. There's nothing in it.
Yeah, so Nechama asked here if that obsession, even excessive, yeah, you can never be excessively obsessed over God. It's okay.
Except that it can be, if you express it, it can be viewed as excessive or weird by people around you.
Okay, so by the way, you should know that Nevi'im were called Meshuggah. They didn't seem to be a normal person. That's okay. Let us all have Nevuah and let people saying that in this area we are weird. It's okay.
I think
By the
maybe
way,
you have to know who to talk to.
that's why we have the group. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, the Rebbe says about, when people question him about the Mashiach, like, why are you so, people, like, it's not, people gonna understand us that we something wrong with us. The Rebbe says, if in all other areas you're okay, and this is the only area where you are weird, it's fine. It's okay.
Don't wash away my things.
It's okay.
Okay. That's right here, but
Okay, so any questions? If there's no questions, we'll end the class. I think we did beautiful, 11:40. Yes.
No, Mila, there was just one question that Sarah asked that I think is at a certain point in chapter 2 there of the Mitteler Rebbe, when we're talking about application, the question really arose, which is like, is hitbonenut the only way to have tfuna? Because when we talk about application, it started to sound a little bit like what we look for in general when we're not doing avodat hamochin, where you're looking to apply things really quickly. So
You could try to apply things, but the question is if they could be applicable. That's the question is. We could always apply. It's not so apply. If you're that happy, that's go ahead and apply. There's nothing wrong of applying Torah. The question is if it's really applicable. You know, if it really changes, if it provides that transformation that we are seeking for. Because we not just want information, we want to transform our lives. We want to see godliness. We want to process godliness. We want to have the godly consciousness on a constant basis in all our decisions in the world. How we change, how we change. And if we don't see that change in us, so then we need to go deeper into his bonus. That's the answer. It's the same as a Rav. Let's simplify it, right? This is like a Rav is asked a question. Can he answer this question without a long story? Yes, no. Kosher, not kosher. That he has that clarity in his mind where he also could answer the question, B'ma dantano. You know what's B'ma dantano? B'ma dantano is it's a real life question. When two people go to a Rav cannot just say kosher, not kosher. You are mechuyev and I'm mechuyev. He also has to share his reasoning behind it, right? And now many times in arbitration papers, people say, Rabbanim say, okay, you cannot ask questions, b'madam tano. Meaning, we're just going to give a psak din, and if you agree, you sign, and if you don't agree, go find another beis din that will provide you b'madam tano, right? So, however, a respectful beis din in some cases will provide, or maybe in many cases they should provide b'madam tano. Right? What is the thought process behind my psak din? And to write that, you need to be a scholar. You cannot just be Chaim Yankel. You not have anything against the, selling pizza and do a psak din based on that. No, you really have to show how the law is derived and how it implied, okay, in this particular situation, because we all know many details. Every single detail could change the whole course of the psak din. And a person really has to be a scholar. If a person cannot provide such a scholarly report on application of the law, what is he going to do? He has to learn, go back into the concept, go back into all the Rishonim, Achronim, and the whole situation there, and all the people to derive that simple psak din. And if he's incapable of doing it, there's nothing he can do to apply. The application comes from the depth. The application comes from going even deeper. That's the only reason how you could derive a psak din. I don't see any other reason how a person could derive a psak din. There's no meditation. There's no holistic approach. There's nothing. It's going deeper into the concept. That's the only way a Rav could write down this thing. It's not on his hergeshim. It's nothing on anything. It's on factual descent of the Jewish law, right? So now, this is we understand very well. The same as in us, in our isbeinenus, into godliness. There is no extra thing we can do if we do not, if we don't go deep into the same way. It's literally, it brings, by the way, halacha all the time. Remember about the Rav that was quiet? Remember that? And all these things. He brings halacha for a reason. As clearly we understand it pertaining to halacha. This is exactly the same thing pertaining to our personal lives. When we don't see God in our life, why is it? It's not God's problem. we need to create a kalim, period. Where's your kalim? Where's your depth? Go in deep. Now a person might say like, oh, well, I'm not a scholar. Do I need to become a Rav of Chassidus? That's a legit question. But Hashem is not expecting us to become a Rav. Hashem wants us to bring to our limit of understanding. That's it. When we reach our limit, he meets us there. And by everybody, the limit is very different. Okay? So, and if you're not a simple person, do not try to hide, oh, I'm a simple person. Because that's not going to be your limit. You could do that. You could look at Chaim Yankel, okay, next door, who is a simple baker. And you could say, why can't I be like him? But you're not. You're not like him. You're not Chaim Yankel, and you're not your next door neighbor. Hashem gave you your potential. And you need to reach your limits, period. You also don't need to look at this, I don't know, another Chaim Yankel, who is a big scholar, who is a Rav, and who is this big mashpia, who is like this giant. That's not shy after you. It's a famous Reb Zusha, right? After 120 years, they're not going to come tell me why I was not like Avraham Avinu. They're going to ask me why you were not Reb Zusha. Right? So we all have our own talents, our own limitations, our own intellectual capacities, and the goal is to reach our own. That's it. This is the key word.
So just in the chat, Sarah was asking, like, practically, how do you start doing hitbonenut? So we've done it, we've done this process a few times in the class. And so I just put in the chat the way that I break it down, like a practical way to do it. Obviously, they're different ways, but there are 3 basic stages, which is the Bina of Bina, the Rochav of Bina, and then going into the Omek of Bina. And it's based there. I also put the previous Rebbe's definition, and you can see those 3 stages in his definition, where he's saying that, first of all, you just have to engage with the letters the words and the concepts until you know it really, really well. And can speak about it at length. And then, only then can you really just gaze at it. And then you touch the oneg, which is the Bina Liba. We know that Bina Liba is in oneg. So, it's a work, it's a process. And when you do the process, then you have different kinds of questions. You're inside of the process. I think that the pity is that many of us stop at the first level, and so we never get the real pleasure. The second level, the width is already, it starts to become alive and interesting, and that's when we suddenly realize what we do understand and what we don't. And the third process is where we really start to touch the oneg. And if we just stay at the first level, then we're always just in the struggle, and we never get the pleasure of it. So it's like with most things, it's if we just start in the beginning, and all beginnings are difficult, and so we just stay in that difficult place. I can think of the analogy of exercise. If I'm never really getting past that first stage of exercising, it's just always difficult. But if I habituate myself to do a little bit every day, then things will begin to open up, and eventually, even more than just open up, there's real pleasure. So
I wish to get to that stage and exercise one day, to the pleasure part.
exactly. They say that the runners have that. When you go, it's called hitting the wall. You hit the wall and then you break through, and then you're just flying. But that's that's in a marathon or something where you just kind of. But at least we can do it in Chassidus. Maybe not in the exercise, but it's a similar pattern.
Then there are the endorphins.
Right. Yeah. The endorphins kick in with the exercise. I don't know what it is that kicks in with the Chassidus. The previous Rebbe says, you touch the, how does he say it? You find the delight of your soul, or an nafsho, through the unification of your intellect and the concept itself. You touch something inside of yourself that is very profound.
But sometimes I ask myself, why do I keep coming back to do this for 2 hours every Sunday morning? So, and I can't really define what it is, but there's definitely something there.
Yeah, look, certainly I know that for myself 20 years ago, it was very, very hard for me to learn this text. It looked like a bunch of Chinese writing on a page, to be honest. There were no English translations and charts and graphs and Zoom recordings. And I just felt that there was some light inside of it that I wanted. And there was a point at which the teacher, he saw how hard it was for me. And he said to me, as he was leaving the classroom, he said, Nuria, I don't know why you bother.
So I think we have it a lot easier because we have Mila and Nuria.
Yeah, it is, because it's like Mila was saying earlier, when some people do the processing, then you make it more accessible to other people, what she called the Yosef Karo effect, which is based on a story about Yosef Karo, where he was struggling really to bring down the answer for something that I don't remember what it was exactly. And he struggled and he struggled and struggled to bring down clarity. And after he got it, he went to the study hall and he heard two people studying the same Gemara, and they just had the answer that he had struggled with. And at first he was just horrified. And then I don't know who it was who explained to him that he had brought it down into the world, and therefore it was then accessible. I'm not saying that Mila and I brought it down into the world, but the work that we did 20 years ago, and especially the work that Mila has done, because she's gone much further, makes it more possible for us to share it on some level. But it was
I think you were all the pioneers, and especially to bring this learning to women.
Yeah, well, the person who taught it to us 10 years ago, he was the real pioneer. I have to say that. Yeah. Mila, you're muted if you're talking.
There's also Rabbi Markel, who the older one, who together with the Masud, did a lot of work, and I think he wrote on a knowledge of God a book, a very interesting book, where it's like his essay, what he learned all from Shara Yichud and Kuntrasei Spilus. It's also in Neirot. It's this, like this thick book from it's called On the Knowledge of God. Very interesting. it's like a synopsis. It's good to read, just, to get a certain understanding or support, in all this. But Baruch Hashem, I think the great work is, really done with, with the Rebbe, for Bechlal opening this up to us, and making sure that all channels are clear, because, when there are obstacles in the world, so a lot of things becomes not accessible. But as the Rebbe said to us very, very clearly, that everything is ready. Everybody's just waiting for our tircha, for our word. Baruch Hashem. But yes, it's definitely
It's clean.
a very eye-opening process to be involved in this.
Okay, so
Is the Wednesday class kind of open to people who haven't learned this before?
Not necessarily, no. The Wednesday class, obviously, if you are coming from, yes, obviously, when you are coming from preparation of, Shara Yichud for 2 years, the concept will sound very, 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 very familiar to you. And it's written by the same person, and it's written, with the same explanations of Rebbe Hillel. Marshall, can you please turn that on?
What
Thank you.
is a Wednesday class?
What is that?
What is a Wednesday class?
Wednesday, it's Kunshas Spilos. Yeah, Kunshas Shara Yichud is called Kunshas Boinanus. And the Kunshas Spilos is another Kunshas. It's also quite very long.
Oh, when is
But
it starting? Wednesday. I didn't see any writing about it. That's why I'm asking.
It's a Wednesday, 12:30. Wednesday,
Oh.
12:30 to 2.
Okay.
And it's mainly a map of what happens as a result of his boinanus. So here the Rebbe gives us tools of how to do his boinanus, and there what happens when you do proper his boinanus. The conclusion of Kunshas Hispilus is, in order for you to have the proper Hispilus, the way we're describing in this Kunshas, is to do the Hisboinus. So that is not separate class from here. It just provides a different, angle of the Hisboinus. But the main avoida is this class, because, it would be silly after a year and a half studying over there, you'll realize, like, oh, I've missed the whole work here.
So I'm confused that this is what we've been using. This is the English translation, and it goes up to page 89. So I'm really confused between what's Kunshas Hispilus. So this is Reb Hillel Parch's Biurim on Shara Yichud. Is that correct?
Yeah.
only chapter.
So
This
what
is
are
only
we
first
learning now?
chapter.
Only
First chapter.
This is the first chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we are on Sunday mornings, we are continuing with the second chapter or the third chapter?
The
We
third
already did the second chapter.
Okay, but
of Reb Hillel.
that's not in here.
No, it's not. They never translated the Biurim of Reb Hillel for the second, third, and further chapters. They just did one chapter of Reb Hillel, and that's it.
So we're just continuing what we started.
Yeah. In Sunday class, we are continuing doing whatever we were doing. We're going to go Bezrat Hashem as of next Sunday to the third chapter.
Okay.
And there, it's a beautiful, very, very long chapter. And we're going to be discussing the 2 levels in which Hashem reveals himself to us. Okay. One is called Etzem V'Ispashtus, a process, and the other one is Helam V'Gilui. One is the essence and manifestation, and the other one is revelation and concealment.
But didn't we
right?
just do like last week or the week before, just plain Shari Yichud?
We did that, yeah. And now we also did plain Shara Yichud. Today we learned only the Mitteler
I'm
Rebbe's word.
confused between the two.
Okay. Okay, so you know how we have Rashi and Chumash?
Yeah. Right.
Chumash and Rashi, right? So there is one way of studying is you just read Chumash, right? You read Psukim.
But you wouldn't
Right.
just read Rashi without the Chumash.
What? You're right. The other one, imagine the Rashi, instead of just writing the Davar HaMaskil and explanations, like one parak of Chumash, and then he will write his essay about explaining us what that means. For example, like you see that a lot done by Kli Yakar,
No,
right?
no, so I understand, but I kind of want to know which, like if it's Chumash and Rashi and I had two different texts, which is the Chumash and which is the Rashi?
Okay, so the one that we did today was the Chumash, right? Meaning when we are learning straight from the Mitteler Rebbe, and we did it on chapter 1, and we did today on the whole chapter 2, that's when we only learning Mitteler Rebbe, right? All the classes from before what we did is we did the left viewer of Reb Hillel.
Okay.
Does that make it a little bit easier or no? That book that you had,
Yeah.
it's Reb Hillel. And
Oh, but
then
this
we
one.
also did a translation of the second chapter of Reb Hillel.
Which is not in a book.
No, it's not in a book. We gave out separate pages
Okay.
for that.
So
You
that
can-
It's in the drive. It's in the drive. You'll see a
so
second
it's not
chapter in
published
it.
in book form beyond the first chapter.
Because no, we're not publishers. We,
Well, Markel
also-
didn't publish it.
yeah, Markel, but they never translate. Maybe one day, you never know.
Yeah, no,
that
but
they
the
will
difference
publish.
is that this one is only the English, and so I like what you have online because it has both.
Exactly. So for that reason, when we were doing our translation, we felt that it's important to have the Hebrew and English together. So you know exactly what you're reading and translating, right? So now this one that we read today, they have only Mitteler Rebbe in that style, Hebrew English,
Okay. All
but
right.
they
so
don't have it for
I like
Reb
to have
Hillel.
hard copies, so I'll just have to stock up on ink. That's all.
Actually, they have a similar one to the Sefer that we're going to learn on Wednesday. They have a similar one, Hebrew English, in what we're learning today on the same.
That's a very good question. I'll try to prepare it. I actually don't. There is an English translation of Kuntrasei Spilus, but you could purchase it. It's only Mitteler Rebbe there. There's no Reb Hillel there. I
Oh,
mean, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
try to prepare something that we had for.
Well, is that the one from translated by Benjamin Walters?
I don't know. To be honest, Nechama, I'm also confused with all the translations they have.
Okay.
So when you say what Benjamin Walters translated,
Looks like
translate
this.
really a lot of work. So I really wouldn't know what exactly you're referring to. And your Batya Tiferes, you wanted to ask something.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I just got back from vacation and school's starting. We're really busy here, but I want to try to do my best to at least make an effort to catch up for next week's class. Now, I do still have a lot to do. I'm before this week, it's very busy, but I want to put in some efforts, and I'm wondering to catch up. What I missed is the first and the second chapters. I'm sorry, I have to catch up on the first chapter. I haven't started the second chapter. And then I just want to, can you just run down what I need to do to catch up? That's all. I started I'm starting into the first chapter, and I just want to know what I need to do to try to prepare for next week. I don't know if I'll be caught up by then, but I want to make an effort.
How far have you gone through?
I did several of the recorded classes, and I read through the material for the first class. I may have the first chapter. I may be complete with the first chapter, I'm not sure, but I'll go back over it again.
So I would suggest you, they are on the drive, there are recordings of 18 minutes of just text reading and translating. So if you really want to like kind of get a general content of where we're heading, I would suggest you to go through these first, because first of all, they are much shorter. They're very, precise to what text is saying. And I believe they go all the way through the middle of the third chapter of Rebbe Hillel. And that's what I would do first. Don't bother yourself with all the classes, because at classes we go in much broad and depth, and there's a lot of questions back and forth. They may not necessarily apply to your questions, because obviously when we're running a Zoom session, we are specifically explaining it to that particular audience. When you're coming in a little bit later, it may not necessarily answer your questions that you might have, right? And also, like listening 2 hours, us doing few lines, it's not the wisest way to spend your time. So you could just take a shortcut, listen to those 18-minute classes, and just zoom through them. And this way you're going to gain very fast access to the text, to the translations, to simple explanations. After that, I would just put a goal, finish it first 2 chapters that way.
Okay.
And then alongside, when you have time, you could go to the longer version, which is our Zoom recordings.
Okay. I want to admit to you that I personally do not use Google, but for this content and what you guys have brought, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. It's not something
What a sacrifice.
I know it sounds silly, but
no, it's not silly. I mean, it's a big commitment not to use Google. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so then is it categorized under 18-minute classes, or how?
Yes, you know what? I'll
Okay.
post in the group for those who want to
Okay.
just fast catch the
Okay.
18-minute classes. Yes, it's
Okay, sounds good.
yeah, B'ezrat Hashem.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Sure. Ma'at hatzlacha, everybody. And B'ezrat Hashem, once Google prepares this, Zoom prepares this, I'll try to post it as soon as possible. But again, we're all starting school this week. So Baruch Hashem, it's quite a busy situation for everybody. Thank you for joining, and much hatzlacha on your hisbonenus. And any questions, just post in the group. We'll try to answer.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you both.